So let's get to know the authors behind Choosing Life, a pro-life anthology. Hi, I'm Allen Steadham, and a couple of years ago, the Lord gave me inspiration to make a pro-life anthology, a Christian fiction pro-life anthology. And so, over the course of about a year, I contacted a group of authors and set the parameters of what the stories would be, how long they would be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. By the end of 2024, pretty much had gotten all the authors together, early part of 2025. And so we're now about a month away from release of the Pro-Life Anthology. So in this video, I asked the other authors to do a short little word about what inspired their stories and what they think about this anthology. So I'm going to let them share theirs and then I will share my story.
Hello, my name is H.A. Pruitt, and I'm the author of the Anathalian series, and I'm also the author of the story Iris in the Pro-Life Anthology that Allen Steadham is releasing that has several authors in it because it's an anthology, right? Okay, so, and I want to tell you what my inspiration was for the story Iris. So it's basically real life. Everything in the story is real. I changed the names, and I changed the fact that when I was 11 months postpartum with my second biological boy, in real life I did not get pregnant again. But in the story, the mom does, and the mom considers an abortion, and so everything else is real. And if you read it, you'll understand. It's and I don't want to say too much because it'll like give away the story. But my life has been full of infertility. My life has been full, like 10 years we couldn't have a kid. And then we got foster kids. And then we got the foster kids went back. And then we got two of them again. We had four originally, then two came back. And it was a big mess. And even the system said that they were some of the hardest kids they saw come through. And then one had to go to a facility. And so the story has that aspect to it in relation to life and how life is important, because that's part of, it's not just abortion being pro-life, it's like caring about kids enough to give them a chance at life. And foster care is a way to do that if you're infertile. But the first time we had the foster kids, I got pregnant, and I've had two biological kids since then. And all that's like in the story and wrapped up, how whenever you've not been able to have children and suddenly you have all these children and they're very difficult children. My children were easy compared to the foster kids, but when you have very difficult children and very young children who just by being young are very difficult, and you squish those all together, you're suddenly like, this is so hard. This is so hard, and I don't think I can make it. And on top of that, you're postpartum, and so your emotions and hormones are like and doing like whatever they want, and you get to the spot where you're like, I cannot do it. And I was, in real life and in the story, I was so terrified of having another child because I got pregnant with my second child about that time where I was like at 11 months. When I was 11 months with my first boy postpartum, I got pregnant again. And so I was just like, I think it was 13. It was close. And so I was terrified with my second boy being that far along postpartum and being close to starting to being able to have kids again. Because I don't know if this is too much information because I breastfed, and so there's that period where as long as you're breastfeeding a significant amount, you haven't started your period yet, and so you can't get pregnant. But I was getting to that point where I was kind of weaning off, and so I was just terrified. And in the story, she's absolutely terrified of getting pregnant again because you're still postpartum, your hormones are still crazy, you're not yourself, you still are working so hard to take care of very small children, which takes all your time and all your energy. And on top of that, I had a foster child who was still struggling with what he brought into our home. I mean, we had adopted him, but it's still difficult. Like when they're not your biological kid, there's just things that you have to figure out and work through that are so different than biological children. And so what inspired the story was that point. 11 months postpartum, I didn't think I could do it. I was drowning. I just couldn't do it, and everything was just, I was terrified. That's what inspired Iris. So I won't tell you what happens in the story. But that's what inspired the story, real life. And me, just like when Allen asked me to be part of the anthology, I thought, what would make me not want to have a baby? Because usually, you think like they had a kid out of wedlock. It was a bad situation. That's what your mind goes to with why would someone want an abortion. My thought was I wanted to do something different. Why? What reason would make me terrified of it? So that's the reason I went with what I was just terrified because I didn't think I could handle it, because it was so hard to handle a 2-year-old, a 0-year-old, and a foster child who was also young. So that's why I wrote my story. I hope you want to read it. I hope it sounds interesting to you. It's a very different view on abortion and choosing life and all of that.
Hi, everybody. I'm Parker J. Cole, and I am so excited to be telling you about my story in Choosing Life, a pro-life anthology. Let me tell you, when Allen Steadham, who is the head of this project, contacted me, of course, I jumped on the bandwagon to be a part of this wonderful project celebrating life and telling stories that really answer deep questions about pro-life issues, about motherhood, childhood, and so much more. My story in the project is called My Daughter Samantha. And I got to tell you a little bit of background behind it. I met one of the owners, or rather one of the founders of Abortion Survivors Network. It's a network that is dedicated to educating and providing resources for people who were born from failed abortion attempts. And if you can go online, you can check it out for yourself. Wonderful work that they're doing. And her story detailed the fact that she was trying to find her birth mother. And when she found her birth mother, she thanked her birth mother for allowing her to live. Unfortunately, the birth mother started crying and she said, "You weren't supposed to be here. You're supposed to be gone." And that's how she learned that she was actually a failed abortion attempt. That led her down a very interesting path, and she started to meet other people who were also failed abortion attempts. And you could use a lot of questions come to mind when you consider that you weren't supposed to be here. And what is that implication for mothers who have children who have been born from failed abortion attempts, those of us who find out about it? So it was really interesting talking to her. You can get more information by going to her website, abortionsurvivorsnetwork.com. It's online. You can just Google it. So having talked to her, I wanted to explore the idea of what if a woman had no idea that the child she thought was aborted wasn't. And so that's what my story, My Daughter Samantha, is about. It's again in the anthology Choosing Life, which is a pro-life anthology. I'm really excited for you to take a look at it. Really enjoyed the story. I believe there's some very heartfelt moments there, really hard questions to answer and ask, because these questions aren't easy. And so we don't want to always condemn everyone for their choices, but provide resources and help and use fiction to tell stories that could be uplifting even in the darkest of places. So I hope you enjoyed My Daughter Samantha. You have a wonderful day, and I hope you get your copy of Choosing Life, a pro-life anthology.
Hi, I'm Lauren Smyth, one of the authors in the Choosing Life anthology, and I wanted to make this video to just say thank you so much for your support in bringing this book to the world. When Allen first approached me about writing for this anthology, I really didn't know what I could contribute to the pro-life movement. I'm not a mom, I don't even have any younger siblings, so the concept of raising children is completely foreign to me. I can barely take care of myself at this point. And I'm not involved in politics. I have never been heavily involved in the political side of this movement. And so at first, I really didn't know what I could say. But then I realized there's a question a lot of women who are involved with or affected by this movement have faced. And that is, can I be a strong woman of God, reliant on God, and still admit to my own vulnerability? Is it okay to ask for help? Is it okay to say I don't have everything together? I think this is a question a lot of women ask, this sort of tension between strength and vulnerability and what that's supposed to look like. I will be the absolute last person to say I have the answer to that question, but I hope that the story I wrote for this anthology will at least help show that those two things can and even should coexist in the lives of so many women, and just bring some of these struggles and questions that all women face, regardless of your involvement or not with the pro-life movement. Just bring some of those questions and struggles to the forefront and show that, that's not something that we're going through alone. That's something we are all sharing together. As a journalist, I know right away that the publication of anything in this field is likely to open up a good bit of controversy. So I want to get ahead of that and say we are not trying to open any debates. We are not trying to solve any debates. We are not trying to start arguments. We are not trying to say there's only one right way to live. We want to share these fictional stories and the lives of these fictional characters so that people who are going through these issues know they're not doing it alone, that there are people who are experiencing them alongside them, there are people who are thinking about them alongside them, and there are people who are praying alongside them. All the sales revenue from this book will go to a pro-life organization, so if this is a way that you feel led to support that cause, we would be very, very grateful if you would buy this book not only for your own shelves, but also for your friends' shelves, and for anyone you think might be interested in these topics, these discussions, and approaching this issue from a Christian worldview. From all of us here who worked on the anthology, we just want to say a resounding thank you. We hope you will enjoy this book.
My special announcement is actually that an anthology that I wrote a short story for is going to be published on April 20th, 2026. The whole anthology is called Choosing Life. It's a pro-life anthology. I'll have a link to it in the description below, to like the ebook, to pre-order it on Amazon and White and all of the things. So I'm very, very excited about this anthology. It's a passion project for me because it's so important to me to choose life and to save the lives of babies that are being murdered brutally. I don't have any kids of my own, and I've been struggling to have a baby of my own, and so I'm very, 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 very passionate about this. So my short story in this anthology is called The Life to Save, and it's a short story that connects with my, and is a prequel to my Hearts of Valor series, which is a Christian military romantic suspense series, though this short story is obviously more drama and less military romantic suspense. All of the stories in the anthology and the authors, I wanted to shout all of them out. So there's Iris by H.A. Pruitt, My Daughter Samantha by Parker J. Cole, Promised to Tomorrow by Lauren Smith, The Life to Save by me, and then 1:30 p.m. by Allen Steadham. So in each of these fiction stories, the main female character faces an unplanned pregnancy and she considers abortion as a solution. God makes a way, and then life is chosen. All proceeds from this book, in any format, will be donated to pro-life and nonprofit organizations. So you can pre-order the ebook on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and you can order the paperback. So the paperback will be $16.99 and the ebook will be $4.99. So each book pre-ordered or ordered will actually, go toward pro-life, helping to save a life. So I also wanted to talk about my blurb for my story, The Life to Save. Rhett and Mia, before Rhett and Mia can marry, he's deployed on a special forces mission. Soon, Rhett is declared missing in action and presumed dead. Now, carrying his child, Mia's grief and insecurity overshadow everything else.
So, what inspired 1:30 p.m.? A couple things. The Lord gave me an idea to basically have a unique story that was similar to a movie that I saw a while back. Is a Gwyneth Paltrow film, of all things, called Sliding Glass Doors. And basically, everything hinged around whether or not Gwyneth Paltrow's character got onto the subway in time or whether she had to wait for the next train. Well, in 1:30 p.m., it all hinges around a time, which is 1:30 p.m. And that is when the main character of the story, Julie, has made an abortion appointment, and whether or not she makes that abortion appointment. But all of my stories tend to have twists in them. And this story is no exception. But what I love about what came of this story is that it gives you some unique insights into what the character's going through. That this is not an easy decision, and that every decision has consequences. Now, there can be negative consequences, and there can be positive consequences. And I really loved how the Lord showed this character's journey. And like all the stories, ultimately she chooses life. But how she gets there is pretty unique, and I don't want to give spoilers on that. But something that's interesting for me, regarding this anthology. Well, I've been pro-life for a long time, but I was telling my oldest son about this over the phone when the anthology was in its early stages. And he said something really unique to me, and I had to think about it. He said, so I told him about it. I gave him the rundown on what his story was going to be about and the themes and all that. And he said, "How does it feel to save the world?" I was kind of baffled at first, but then I thought about it a little bit, and he was referring to that, you know, if an anthology like this can reach people and prevent abortions from happening, and it literally allows for life to continue beyond what it would have if people had if women had chosen abortion. And so that really one, it really honored me, but it also made me think about it. And especially when we learn statistics like that, 1/3 of Gen Z was aborted. That is astonishing and horrible. But you know I think things are starting to change, and I don't want to go into the politics of it and all that stuff. um, the important thing is that this is an anthology to give hope. It recognizes the challenges, the difficulties, the stresses and traumas that women go through, but also it shows how not only is there hope, but that the Lord Himself cares about each and every one of us, and you know the Lord is the one who gives life and has a purpose for every single one of us. And, you know, it's just a wonderful thing. And my hope is that, you know, even if one even if one baby is saved, that makes everything worth it. And also, it's one of the reasons that, I wanted this anthology to be, for all of its profits, to go to pro-life nonprofit organizations so that they can do different organizations do different things and help women and families in different ways. And so this way, everything isn't going all into one, but we can support a variety. You can support a variety of organizations that help women during and after their pregnancies. So this book is going to be available on April 20th, 2026, and it will be available in paperback, hardcover, and ebook through Amazon. And then it will be available in paperback and ebook through Barnes & Noble, Kobo, and other various retailers. So the links will be made available to you, and I encourage you to get a copy for yourself and anyone that you think would benefit from this anthology. And I appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoyed getting to know the authors that made stories for this anthology. And we'll see you next time.